Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to the 7th movie of FMA month. For this one, we're going to cover the kinda controversial topic of which FMA ending is better and why. Oh boy, this one. Probably of the requests, this and the next one took the longest to even think out, because to be very honest, which one is considered better really depends on a person's viewpoint of better. It's like how people would say, oh, Star Wars is the greatest movie ever, or someone would say, Star Wars is complete and utter crap and doesn't deserve any of the praise it gets. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean when I say better. Better really doesn't mean anything. To me, it just means which one you think is better, which one you prefer, and which one is better by your standards. Ultimately, the title is a lie. It's more of a which ending I prefer and why. But I will cover some things that I think one show did better, and then come to the ultimate conclusion of which one is the one I prefer. And I'll be covering 4 topics with this video: which had better characters by the end, which felt more complete, which felt more satisfying, and which one was more emotional. So let's just begin with which had better character by the end. Oh god. I don't normally say that this is a hard one to talk about, but this is a really hard one to talk about because the endings are both so different yet so similar. In the case of the Brotherhood, it's much more a happy ending, and you earned that happy ending. While FMA 2003 was more bittersweet at best, kind of downer. So their endings, in terms of which one they are complete reversal of the other. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just one of those things that it's not makes the endings very different. The characters, likewise, are different, very, very, very different. Ed is almost a different character. I think he was more mature by the end and of Brotherhood, whereas I think the other one kept a lot of other things along with him. The Eds are almost too different to compare. That's kind of part of the reason why I tied them in my favorite FMA characters list. And ultimately, that's kind of a similar opinion to every single one of the characters. True, I think one does better than the other in each one, but ultimately, I cannot decide between these two. I think they're pretty good either way you go. Now comes the second part, which felt more complete. Okay, this one comes down to the fact that both of them felt very complete series-wise. FMA 2003 at the final episode felt very complete and very satisfying. Not every plot point was resolved, but they didn't always have to be. Okay, Envy turning into a dragon might have been one thing they should have not done, but we'll get into that in a moment. So yeah, there's that, and it still felt like a satisfying ending. Or at least somewhat, compared to the show. Brotherhood was also a very complete ending. The previous episode had ended up all the arcs, so the final episode felt more or less like an epilogue in itself, similar to Conquer Shambhala, though we'll get to that in a moment, because I do want to talk about it for this one. So, ultimately, I'm going to say Brotherhood had a very complete ending, and also held the door wide open for a potential spin-off with Al and the 2 Chimeras. I still want that spin-off, guys.
I don't know about the rest of the FMA community. I want to spin off with them and their journeys in Jing. I was always interested to find out what happened to them there and how their adventure would go. We see him at the very end, but I would love to see what happens to him during those years. And that always made me curious. You didn't need to continue it. The story of Full Metal Alchemist was done. I just kind of wanted a spin-off. But, personal rant over. To me, and the winner of this category is Brotherhood. And I will give one reason why. Conqueror of Shambhala. I know I shouldn't count it, but it technically is the series end. It is the final conclusion. It's the epilogue to the series, and it is officially in canon. So, I'm sorry guys, but Conqueror of Shambhala kind of ruins the ending a little bit for me. Actually, not even a little bit. It completely ruins the ending. It betrays everything the original ending stood for and leaves it too wide open. So there's that, and ultimately, at least Brotherhood will had some open ends. They didn't need to continue on. They had a satisfying enough ending alone. And I'm glad they didn't do what they did with FMA 2003 and made a movie ending the series. Hint, hint, that's one thing I'll actually give Sacred Star of Milos. So, point to Brotherhood. Next up, which ending was more satisfying? This comes down ultimately to personal preference. Which type of ending do you prefer? Do you prefer a happy ending, or do you prefer a sad ending? Which characters do you prefer? The characters that completed their mission, or the characters that got to relax and continue on with their lives? Or which one did you prefer? Ultimately, that. I'm gonna say for me personally, the better ending once again was Brotherhood. At least to me, because I prefer a happier ending. One of the reasons I still don't like Gurren Lagann's ending. It didn't deserve a sad ending, guys. But that's another rant for another time. Ultimately, I was more satisfied with the ending of it. And no, that's even before I watched Conqueror of Shambhala. Yeah, Conqueror of Shambhala would have ruined any chance of 2003 getting it, but to be honest, if we're looking at it from just series-wise, I'm still more satisfied with Brotherhood's ending. So, point to Brotherhood. And the final category, even though the winner is now clearly obvious, which ending was more emotional? What I mean by emotional is, I mean sad, happy, all the emotions you feel. To be honest, while I think Brotherhood had a more satisfying ending, I do kind of think 2003 had a more emotional ending. The more emotional thing was just before the ending in Brotherhood, episode 63. They saved it up all for there. 2003 still had the emotional aspect going from the previous episode. And I'll be honest, I kind of prefer it that way. So, ultimately the emotion goes to the 2003 series. So, point goes to them. And finally, the winner. Again, I should point this out. This one is my opinion. This is not anyone else's opinion, because guess what, guys? You're not going to agree with me because of which one you prefer. If you prefer Brotherhood, you're going to prefer Brotherhood's ending. If you prefer the 2003, you're going to prefer 2003's ending. Or sometimes reverse that, and if you didn't like Brotherhood, you'll like 2003. It's all a matter of subjective matters, and I've already said I prefer Brotherhood's ending. Is it perfect? No. I do think there are anime that had a better technical ending with their last episodes.
but this has to be, for me, one of the most satisfying endings ever. And unlike the 2003 series where it left kind of a void that I needed to fill, Brotherhood did not have that void, except for that Al spinoff I want. Sorry, rant again. So ultimately, I definitely think Brotherhood had the more satisfying of endings. Though I do wish it had a bit better on the emotional aspect, but at least they had it for the second to last episode. So it's not like I can complain too much. And I still consider Brotherhood to have one of the better endings of anime, period. So ultimately, Brotherhood takes the win for this one. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1. And next time we take a look at the final request video, top 10 OSTs from Fullmetal Alchemist 2003 and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. See you guys then.